Here are the top 3 things to know how to make DEI integrated and embedded in your practice. This is the Issues Watch podcast. Welcome back to the NJCPA Issues Watch podcast. I'm your technology host, Sean Stein Smith. I won't bore you going through my background and bio. I'm sure all of you have heard of me by now. I'm heavily involved in the NJCPA, talking about everything crypto, blockchain related. I also have the great privilege of being an incoming member of the Board of Trustees starting in June. So I'm amped to be here again, really honing in on the top issues facing all of us as individuals and our firms going forward. And actually this month, I am super excited to have on really a expert guest in an area that all of us talk about, that all of us know is important, but that obstacles are still there in terms of how to operationalize and how to embed DEI concepts into our firms, right? Both now and going forward. So I'm thrilled to have here today on the podcast William Bradshaw, who's the head of DEI at Withum and is heavily involved in these efforts in a whole host of organizations in NJ. Bill, I am thrilled to have you here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Smith. Happy to be with you today and to talk about all the great things, diversity, equity, inclusion related. I built my career in professional service, started out in the client service side many moons ago doing this work, both in client client side of the house with audit and tax work, and kind of found my niche in the human capital sector and have moved over through multiple different positions and recently sit on the leadership team over at Withum and lead all of our inclusion and diversity initiatives there. So happy to have the conversation today with you. It's very timely, it's very necessary. So I'm looking forward to the chat.
Absolutely. Happy to have you here again. And so off the top, right, Bill, how are we doing overall in terms of DEI, both overall and those individual components, which I know all mean different things?
Yeah, so great question. I think the first, to lay the land a little bit, folks kind of all say to us, what's the letters? How do they intersect? How do you define those letters? What does D mean? What does the I mean? If the I is before the D, now there's this B that's out there. What does the B mean? So, when I think about diversity, equity, and inclusion, I think about our people, right? We are in the business of professional services. Our people are our number one asset. So how do those 3 letters integrate into what that means? So I did not coin this phrase, but I quite often use it. Diversity is being invited to the party. So are we bringing those folks to the table, right? That's our diversity piece. That's our D piece. It's what makes us unique. Everybody is diverse. Everybody has unique qualities that makes them who they are. That inclusion piece is once you're at that party, are we dancing? And at Withum, we say every day, we want our folks to dance. We want our folks to show up to work, to dance to whatever music they want, whatever style they want to dance to. We want to keep them engaged. So that diversity and that inclusion equals engagement to me. And that's really where the rubber meets the road in this work. Are we engaging our professionals? Are we encouraging our professionals to show up as their authentic selves and do this work, be in this work? Professional services as a whole, I think the numbers of students getting into this profession is historically trending down through all lenses of diversity. It's not just our underrepresented groups, but historically we're seeing not a lot of students going in that direction. But what I can say is the firms are double downing on this effort and really encouraging our folks that are at the firm to get involved in actively engaging folks in this work. And really helping understand what the intersects are of the identities that are here. So in regards to how we're doing, it's a priority for all the firms. I meet regularly with our competitors and the big 4. We watch what they're doing. We look at what they're doing. The top 25, look at what everyone's doing amongst each other. How can we get it right for everyone? And I will say in this space, it's not about a competition. It's about how can we make this profession better for all of us? Because at some point we know people are going to move through the ranks, move through different firms, but how can we do it collectively? So we're getting there. We're getting there. I can say there's a lot of movement. There's been a lot of enhancements. There's been a lot of look at how we can be an employer of choice in this initiative.
And to echo on those points, Bill, right? Sort of the whole, sort of a theme that I'm sort of getting from that is this whole idea of increasing the pipeline, trying to make it more of a industry-wide effort and to not view it always as a competitive thing.
Exactly.
But are there traits at firms in your background and expertise? Are there some traits, characteristics that actually make some firms better at these ideas and efforts and onboarding them into the culture versus others?
Yeah, I would say one of the number one things we see as success in this work, and that those that separate themselves from just doing it, is leaders that are actually walking and talking and doing this work. And when I say that, our CEO and our CEO-elect, Bill Hageman and Pat Walsh, they meet regularly with our people. They sit in on our employee resource groups. We call them team member resource groups at the firm, to get a bird's eye view of how folks experience the firm. What that means to be a person of color at the firm, what that means to be a veteran at the firm, what that means to be an LGBT individual at the firm, and really understands what those underrepresented groups are and the issues and the development and what they need to succeed at the firm. So what I would say is the leaders in this space are doing two things. They're leaning into their people, they're listening to their people, they're taking time to check in on their people, because we realize now that what happens outside of the four walls happen inside the four walls. We cannot separate both of those things. And I think if we learned anything from COVID, from a diversity lens, we realized that everything is intertwined now. There is no work life, it's integration. How are we integrating both of them? It's not work-life balance, and how do you get it right? So that's the first thing. Our leaders are really attentive. They're leaning in, they're listening, they're engaging with our people. And the second thing is they're taking back what they listen and they're putting it into action. So they're saying, what do we need from a developmental standpoint? What kind of learning and awareness tools do we need to bring to the team? And they're actually putting their money where their mouth is and getting us those resources and allowing us to partner with external vendors to bring in best-in-class development, best-in-class training, best-in-class professional guidance, whether it's a coaching perspective, whether it's a career coach, a personal coach, whether it's what you need to get to partner path. They're really listening, and that's not the same thing for every individual. We are really tailoring what we need for our people that are at the firm.
Mm-hmm. Excellent stuff there, Bill. And so a add-on question to that, yeah. How has this pivot and trend, and obviously each firm is different, every office is different, but this pivot and trend for having more folks working offsite at home, how has that impacted all of those efforts to have those open channels of ongoing dialogue at Withum? Is having people offsite helping it maybe, or proving to be a obstacle towards having those open channels?
I think it's a catch-22 there. I think we have more time, right? So folks are we have to be intentional with our time to step away from our desk, right? As you can see, I'm working from my home office, so it's everything's within reach of what you do. And many times you get out of your bed, you come down and you start to work for the day, and you haven't even done your hair, right? Because you're not on any calls, and you're just in it. So I think the intentionality of setting aside time to check in on your folks. We're not having those water cooler conversations. We're having a lot of these interactions like you and I are having, right? So what's the intentionality behind those? Scheduling regular check-ins, not about what's going on with the audit, where's the tax return, what's the status of this engagement, but how are you doing? How can I help you? How can I step in? And like one of the things I can say Withum does a really good job is really coaching our people and allowing our people to say, this is what I need, raise their hand and say, this is what I need, and we step in and say, how can we get you there? So whether it's our recent, what we just instituted, childcare reimbursement. So we will help reimburse childcare expenses for folks. We really are looking at how we can enhance the experience of our people. And it's hard because everyone is working remotely. Folks will say to me all the time, and I just talked to someone last week, what's the new reality? So there is no new reality. It's the new normal, right? This is not normal. Take that word out of it. What's the new normal? It's not normal. This is the new reality. We're going backwards. We're not going forward. People are all confused as to what's happening. And at the end of the day, what works for us may not work for another firm. I always like to say, though, in this space, in this work, what is the silver lining that we've learned on the other side of COVID? And I will tell you, the ability to connect with our people from all over the globe. We have multiple offices in New Jersey. We also have offices down in Florida, out on the West Coast. The ability for us to connect with those team members throughout the states, real time, has been super imperative. To have those one-on-one dialogues on team calls or Zoom calls or whatever it happens to be. Before it was, we're getting on a plane, we're going to see them. It's a lot of time. We've cut down that time and we've made it intentional. So I would say the connections that we're having are much more intentional. They're much more career focused. They're much more, how can I help you get to the next level? What can I do for you? And we still, nothing replaces that elbow to elbow time, sitting in an office, rolling up your sleeves, sitting next to our folks. So we do encourage our folks, when safe, when they feel, that they can do that, to get into the offices and spend some time, especially with our new staff that are coming, out of university and it's their first career. There's nothing that replaces that, sitting next to someone, looking over their shoulder, learning how to do, C work papers and I have a little twitch when I say that because I did that myself, but doing, really engaging in that work. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and then trying to duplicate that with this planned interaction, I think is a great way to help sort of bridge that gap right now.
Exactly.
And so, echoing on that, are there any tools or processes? And obviously each firm is different, but are there any tools or processes or sort of headsets that are most commonly found at firms who are doing better at DEI efforts versus their peer group?
Yeah, I think it starts with, so I always say and when you're in the discipline of diversity and inclusion, diversity, belonging, whatever you want to call it, sense of belonging, we don't own any process at the firm. We enhance everybody else's process. So we enhance recruiting, we enhance learning and development, we enhance promotion and retention, we enhance career development, we enhance HR. All of our tools that we do are to enhance and make sure that that we're operating on all cylinders. So I'd say that's one of the things in this space. Some of the best things that I've seen firms do is really create that sense of awareness. So you don't know what you don't know in this space, and our leaders don't know what they don't know. So it's our jobs as D&I practitioners, as D&I leaders, to help them understand and to stop and pause and listen and get there. So I would say some of the tools that in their toolbox of the best, I would say, is that ability to have leaders who will realize that this is an awareness program, put out and really understand the language, and have CEOs and chairmen that commit to this work, right? That they have a written formal statement that they're committed to this work, and here's the actionable items that we're going to take to get there. I think the other thing is recognizing and acknowledging where you're at. So everybody's on this journey, figuring out where you're at and meeting your people where they are. So when I say that, I'm intentional in saying that be transparent with your data. Your clients want to know and your people want to know. So the first step that I always tell folks is do assessment, feel out, get your numbers, figure out where you are. What does the demographics of your firm look like? And where do you want to go? And how are you going to get there? We cannot get there by saying, oh, we're just going to, we're going to front load all of our campus hires. It's not going to work. What about our experience hire? What about our mature pipeline? You can't, you have to think about what process is going to work for your firm and how it works. But I think that data transparency on the forefront allows our folks to get that sense of, I can show up and be who I am, because there's tools and there's programs in place to help me do that, right? So I think that's number one. And I think the other piece is really understanding the needs of your people and realizing that they are not individual, that you cannot generalize in this space. Everything is unique. Every individual shows up differently, and how you can help them in learning and getting professional development and really, talking and figuring out what they want in their next career. I would also say some of the best that I've seen do this work is really being intentional, and your leaders showing up, showing out, making statements. It's not just about making the statement and signing the commitment, it's actually doing it. So when I say that, you can sign us on a statement that says you're a best place to work for a working mother, but what are you doing with that? Like, what have you done with that recognition? How did you get there?
Mm-hmm.
And then what are you doing with it? So probably my most famous thing that my team will tell you that I always say is, don't tell me you're passionate about it. Like, turn that passion into action. What are you doing if you're passionate about that? How are you being an active ally for all groups that are underrepresented throughout the firm? And I think some of the best leaders out there are the ones that are uncomfortable every day in doing this work, because you're never going to get a place where you're, oh, this was easy. It's never going to be that place. So get comfortable having uncomfortable conversations, having candid conversations across difference. Those are the tools that will get you to the place you want to be, will get your people to understand that you actually are committed to this work, and your clients will see that. And you know, client win, people win, you're on the right path, right? You're on the right path to success.
Yeah. And so it's almost, so it almost sounds to me like basically DEI should be treated as a integrated part of the business in every aspect of the business, versus being something that there's a logo about or some PR about. That it really, to have the intended outcomes, that it really has to be treated as an integrated part of every business component. Correct?
Exactly. And I think to get it right, you have to have those leaders listening to those conversations, right, across your verticals. So it can't be, here comes Bill Bradshaw, he leads D&I, and he's going to tell you what to do, right? We need champions in every vertical of our industry. We need champions and ambassadors to do this work. I'm only one person. My team is only one team. You know, we can't, if we have 2,000 employees, we can't be everywhere at all times, but we have to embed our leaders and embed our champions with the tools to succeed to do this work, right? And that's another integral part, is getting people to understand what your strategy is and your framework is, and helping them march with you, and teaching them that you are a steward of the firm, you are a steward of inclusion, and we need you to carry this on. Absolutely.
Excellent points there, Bill. And so to wrap up our conversation here, to help firms and to echo on a earlier comment, having these conversations can be uncomfortable, and almost always are uncomfortable for everybody involved. And so how would you best advise individuals or firms who are trying to get better at, trying to improve their own DEI efforts, or to have it be more integrated to, again, get the outcomes that everybody knows are critical and that ultimately benefit everybody? Top 2 or 3 tips out there.
Yeah, I would say, so top 3 things, you know, assess where you are. So figure out where you are. One of the best things you can do if you're new to this work, or you're just starting out in this work, is do an assessment of where you are. Figure out what your firm looks like from a data demographic standpoint. Meet with your leaders, do what I call listening and learning tour. Go around to those management committees, senior leaders, senior partners, understand where they're at, where they think the gaps are, and then start to kind of fall out and see if there's any themes, right? Number 2, I would say, get in with your people. You have to hear what's going on through all levels of the organization. So your new hires, through your tenure, through your senior partners, figure out what's going on at the organization. So, you know, I tend to think of this work in 3 pillars. So when you ask for 3 steps, I think of, you know, your workforce, your people. So get with your people, understand what that is, understand what it's like to work at Withum or at another firm. What does it take to become an employer of choice? What does that look like? That's where you see those ERGs come to place, and you start to see that mentorship and sponsorship for underrepresented groups. That ally conversation happens on how to be an active ally. And then the third piece is see what other folks are doing in the space. How do you compare in the market? Are you giving back to your communities that echo the underrepresented talent within your firm? And what are your clients looking for? What are your clients looking at? I can't tell you how many times I've been brought into RFPs, the proposal process. Our clients want to know what we're doing, right? So if for no other reason than to get in this work, than to win business, you know, at the end of the day, if folks say to me, what's the end game? What's the business case? I'm going to say, you can win business, right? People see dollar signs, they hear win, they're going to do it, right? But that's not the only reason. That's not the leading reason. The leading reason is we need to concentrate on our people. They are the ones that help us succeed. So I would say, Get in touch with your people. Where are we? What does your firm look like? Get in touch with the place where you do. How is this place the best place to work? You wouldn't even realize how many things you have in place already until you put some metrics around it and you really measure what you're doing as a firm and what that looks like. And the third thing is, check in and lean in and share externally. Get on LinkedIn, show us what you're doing, right? Let us know what you're doing. Let us know who's at your firm. Let us know how great, your people are in this space, and tell your clients and tell your friends. That's really super important. And people say to me, we don't have enough people. I don't know how to do it. Start small. And by the way, in every position I've held throughout professional services, you're always going to be emerging in something, and you're always going to be lagging in something else. But if you're doing nothing, you're getting it wrong. So many people have said to me, so many leaders have said to me, I'm afraid to say the wrong thing. Silence in this work is the wrong thing. Saying something, acknowledging and making aware that you see what's happening in this work, you see what it is. You don't have to get it right all the time. No one does. But if you say nothing, the silence is deafening, specifically for your people who are underrepresented in this work. So it's imperative, and I can't drive it home enough. Is really understanding what your firm is, what it looks like, how it's like to work there, and what your people needs are in this space.
Excellent points there, Bill. And Bill, it was a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Absolutely.
I will definitely have you on in the future, because all of these points are so important, right, to our firms, to us as individuals, and to our field going forward. Right.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Happy to come back and talk about it again. It's fruit for the soul, and it's what I do. It's my passion. So thanks again for the opportunity.
All right, Bill. Thank you so much.
We'll talk soon.
And just a few quick housekeeping items here at the end here for everyone tuning in here today. Before you go, I encourage everybody who's a member of the NJCPA to sign up for the NJCPA Emerging Technologies Interest Group at njcpa.org/groups. And be sure to check out every episode of the NJCPA Issues Watch podcast at njcpa.org/podcast. Thanks. See you next time.